Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NTD Tonight. I'm David Lamb, sitting in for David Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's top stories. Security plans tighten as APEC 2023 approaches in San Francisco, California. Local officials say thousands of police and federal officers will be present. A young girl wins her case against Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital. A jury found the hospital liable for nearly $220 million. A refugee and veteran tells his story from escaping communism to serving in the U.S. Navy to teaching high school. What he says about a cultural shift in modern society. APEC 2023 has been designated as a national special security event by the Department of Homeland Security. The city of San Francisco expects to have up to 5,000 police and federal officers present to secure the event and prepare for possible terrorist risks. NTD's Jason Blair has more.
APEC 2023 will bring multiple world leaders from the Asia-Pacific region and President Biden together in one city.
Because this is a national special security event, the U.S. Secret Service is the lead as far as the security on this event.
Around 20,000 attendees are expected, plus another 2,000 to 5,000 law enforcement officers. Downtown San Francisco will have a 4x4 block high security area. Anyone going into the red zone will be screened and not allowed unless they have a valid reason.
In terms of people who are accessing businesses or hotels, we have a system in place to verify that those people are registered with that hotel.
They also expect to see numerous protests throughout the conference.
We want to make sure that people are able to exercise their First Amendment right to protest.
From environmental to human rights issues, officials say there could be multiple protests happening a day.
We try to keep opposing factions separated, and we do a good job at that. And if things start to escalate to violence or something where we have to shut the protest down, we will do that.
According to Scott, San Francisco Police Department will have all hands on deck and be working 12 to 14-hour shifts. The event goes from Saturday to Friday, with the busiest days being Wednesday and Thursday. Reporting in San Francisco, Jason Blair, NTD News.
And here's a recap of some other national headlines from today.
Civilians in Gaza. Today, Secretary of State Antony Blinken commented on recent developments. Israel has agreed to 4-hour pauses in specific areas, as well as 2 humanitarian corridors to allow people to move out of harm's way.
These steps will save lives and will enable more assistance to get to Palestinians in need. At the same time, much more needs to be done to protect civilians and to make sure that humanitarian assistance reaches them. Far too many Palestinians have been killed.
Meanwhile, thousands of Palestinians left northern Gaza today, heading south. Ground battles are intensifying in Gaza City, which is in the north. Israel previously split Gaza in 2, creating a northern and a southern part. They're now allowing civilians to pass. The Senate has unanimously passed a resolution condemning the October 7th attack on Israel. The resolution demands that hostages be given medical care and released immediately, and that the U.S. lead a global effort to free all hostages. The resolution was co-sponsored by over 40 senators from both parties. The resolution condemned Hamas for its, quote, premeditated, coordinated, and brutal terrorist attacks on Israel. Allegations of bias against a New York judge. Today, New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik filed a judicial ethics complaint against a judge in Trump's civil fraud trial. She says Judge Arthur Engoron holds a clear bias against Trump. For example, the judge allegedly told Trump's attorney that the former president is, quote, a bad guy, and that prosecutors should go after him. The Congresswoman also says the judge failed to grant Trump his due process rights. She also brought up the gag order against the former president. Stefanik argues this violates Trump's protected political speech. She filed her complaint with the New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct. She says the court must take action to restore a just process in the case.
For more details of these stories, please visit ntd.com. Now, a win in the Take Care of Maya case against Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital. The young lady's journey is now also the center of a new documentary. NTD's Stephanie SoCal reports.
After an 8-week legal battle, a verdict has been reached in the $220 million case against Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital. The jury, comprising 4 women and 2 men, found the hospital liable for all 7 claims made against it, including false imprisonment, battery, medical negligence, and fraudulent billing. The case was brought on by the Kowalski family, who was awarded $211 million in compensatory damages and an additional $50 million in punitive damages. Maya Kowalski, at the center of the case, sought not only financial compensation but also vindication for her mother's innocence. Her story is now being told through the Netflix documentary Take Care of Maya. It revolves around Maya, who endured severe pain since childhood. In 2016, her parents, Beata and Jack Kowalski, sought medical help at Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital for her agonizing abdominal pain. These treatment concerns led to Dr. Sally Smith's intervention in diagnosing Beata with Munchausen syndrome by proxy as a result. This resulted in Maya's separation from her parents and, tragically, Beata's suicide. Maya, soon after her mother's death, returned to her father's care, leading to a lawsuit against the hospital. This case also shed light on concerns about Dr. Sally Smith's judgment and raised questions about the hospital's credibility. Stephanie SoCal, NTD News.
From escaping communism in Vietnam to becoming a U.S. Navy commander and now a high school teacher, Wayne Lee grew up in the foster care system and has lived the American dream by serving the country through military service, church, and his nonprofit for children. He shares with me his take on society's cultural shift and what Veterans Day means to him. Wayne Lee, retired U.S. Navy commander, thank you so much for joining me today on the Marine Corps birthday and ahead of Veterans Day. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you, David, for having me.
Now, Wayne, what does Veterans Day mean to you?
I was a refugee coming to America at the age of 14, and I was able to join the Navy for 30 years, retired 3 years ago. So I'm very blessed. I'm very fortunate as a refugee coming to this country. So I know really the meaning of freedom. Freedom isn't really free. I feel Veterans Day does kind of bring in that sense of spirit in me, brothers in arms, sisters throughout the world, so that they can be helping to spread freedom and democracy throughout the world.
Wayne, thank you so much for your service. Now, you also teach high school math and engineering. Please tell us why you became a teacher.
I had a calling, feeling, wanting to become a teacher because I did some Bible school teaching, and I feel very connected to helping kids, the next generation. I feel like they're a little bit lost in their faith, so I just feel the calling to do that, to thinking about bring light to darkness. And coming from a communist country, I know exactly what that's like, and our country is kind of drifting a bit toward that, communism in terms of the woke culture, the curriculum.
And what have you seen in today's culture?
So I see a lot of brokenness in families, single mom or dad, not stable families that are happening in this country. There's a rise in divorce and single parents. And I feel really a stable family, there got to be 2 people, a mom and a dad, to provide that really strong foundation. It was hard working because in Vietnam I was out in the farm, really picking the crops and things, and had to really going to school was a privilege. So it's not like here in America where a lot of kids are taking things for granted. I was having to bike to school and doing a lot of stuff, and really it was a privilege to go to school. So that's a different mentality. So I was hardworking in high school. I didn't have parents. I know that was the only way to do it was to really study hard to get a scholarship.
Thank you so much for joining us, and happy Veterans Day.
Thank you, David. Thank you for having me.
We'll take a short break now, everybody, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come right back. A Northern California town returns to life. People continue rebuilding 5 years after a wildfire destroyed most of the area. The National Hot Rod Association wraps up the 2023 season with a final race in Southern California. We'll hear more from a racer on the drag strip. And do you have an old $2 bill? Or maybe a bill with a rare serial number? It could be worth hundreds or thousands. Those stories and more coming up on NTD Tonight. Welcome back to NTD Tonight. I'm your host, David Lamb. 5 years after a wildfire destroyed most of the Northern California town of Paradise, the community is returning to life. But it's still far from the place it was before the historic blaze.
The Camp Fire killed 85 residents and leveled about 11,000 homes in the Sierra Nevada foothills town in November 2018. It displaced most of the town's 26,000 residents. 5 years later, only about 2,400 homes have been rebuilt since the deadliest and most destructive wildfire in California's history. About 700 are under construction at any one time, and just 6 of the town's 36 mobile home parks that served mostly low-income and older residents have reopened.
It's sobering, and there are some people that have a real problem with coming back and having to possibly deal with that again.
The town now has more than 9,000 people living there. Many of the new residents are families with young children. The Thompsons decided to just accept the danger and cope with it. They moved to Magalia, just outside of Paradise, in 2021.
I think what we really found here is a community that we love. The actual home does have its risks that we're taking on. We are surrounded by trees.
Many people have not been able to move back because they could not afford it. Donna Houghton and her husband lived in one of the mobile home parks destroyed by the fire.
We couldn't afford to move back up there. It's too expensive. You know, most places.
San Jose or something pretty soon.
It's going to be only the rich that are going to be able to live up there.
Nikki Jones first came to Paradise 25 years ago. She opened 2 businesses, a candle shop and a women's clothing store. Both burned in the fire, along with her home.
And then as far as Nick's Deli and Wine Bar, I wanted to have a place where after the fire and the tragedy, people could feel welcome and feel comfortable and feel normal.
The Camp Fire, the official name of the Paradise Fire, marked a turning point in California's wildfire history. Now, utility companies routinely shut off power for millions of people during windstorms in an effort to prevent fires from starting. Major property insurance companies have raised homeowners' rates to exponential highs or dropped coverage for many in wildfire-prone areas. Other providers have simply stopped writing new policies altogether. PG&E pleaded guilty to 84 counts of manslaughter, filed for bankruptcy, and announced plans to bury 10,000 miles of power lines. The town has installed warning sirens and is working to create more evacuation routes.
The National Hot Rod Association is in Southern California this week for its final race of the year. NTD's Christina Corona has more from the drag strip.
The 2023 NHRA Camping World Drag Racing Series ends this weekend at the In-N-Out Burger NHRA Finals Drag Strip in Pomona, California. This is the last of 6 races that make up for the countdown to the championship NHRA playoffs. Driver Robert Height shares what to look forward to this weekend.
This is going to be an exciting weekend. This is the last race of the year, and it's come down to 3 cars battling it out for a championship. So it's going to be intense.
But drag racing can be such a dangerous sport.
NHRA's done a really, really good job with safety on these cars. And you see cars, going 330 miles an hour and crashing, and the driver walks away. So these cars really are safe. But when you're going that fast, anything can happen.
Champions will be crowned in Top Fuel, Funny Car, Pro Stock Motorcycle, and a handful of NHRA Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series sportsman classes.
If you've watched it on TV only, TV doesn't do this sport justice. Every sense gets tested to the max here. You feel the ground shake when two cars are racing down the racetrack. And it's deafening. You can hear it. I mean, it's loud. And you can smell the nitromethane. You can even taste it in the air. So come once, I promise you'll come again.
The 4-day event began on November 9th and runs through November 12th. For tickets and more information, visit NHRA.com. Christina Corona, NTD News, Pomona.
Big news in the world of basketball as the Golden State Warriors are set to host the 2025 All-Star Game. NTD's Tyler Castillo has the details.
The Chase Center, home of the Golden State Warriors, will officially host the 2025 All-Star Game in San Francisco. It will be the first time that the Chase Center hosts an All-Star Game, with the Warriors last hosting it during the 2000 season when they were back at the arena in Oakland. The upcoming 2025 events will be held from February 14th through February 16th, with some of the events taking place in Oakland as well. In Oakland, the events will include the All-Star Celebrity Game, All-Star Practices, the NBA HBCU, and the G League Next Up Game. Some of the Chase Center events includes the Rising Star Games, All-Star Saturday Night Game, the three-point contest, dunk competition, and of course the All-Star Game, which is the main event.
Southern California's new Emperor Penguin chick now has a name. There were nearly 30,000 votes to name the 2-month-old.
A female emperor penguin chick living at SeaWorld San Diego has officially been named Pearl after more than 29,000 people cast votes to name the 2-month-old chick. Pearl received more than half the total votes against two other options, Pandora and Astrid.
We're very excited. Pearls are often formed during hardships endured by the host animal, and she's had a slew of challenges making it into this world, but we're just really excited that the public chose such an appropriate, really cute name.
Pearl had trouble breaking out of her shell due to a beak malformation when she was born September 12th, so staff assisted in cracking her egg. She was the first emperor penguin born at SeaWorld since 2010. Ramsey said the penguin chick isn't quiet and just recently started eating whole fish.
She is sassy. It's so amazing to witness such an intense personality already at this stage of her life. We have an emperor penguin here that is about 49 years old. So ideally, she has a really long life ahead of her. And I just can't wait to see if that sassiness continues through all the years.
Listed as a threatened species, the emperor penguin is native to Antarctica, and 17 of them live in a 25-degree Fahrenheit habitat at SeaWorld. Some 300 penguins of several species live in the zoo's penguin habitat. Pearl is expected to join the penguin colony in early 2024.
Curious and comical little red critters. It's not often we see red squirrels interacting with human props. Here's more on how a photographer captures these adorable moments.
David Robert Shaw, a photographer in the UK, often travels to Wildfire Forest to catch the red squirrels on camera. Robert Shaw told the APEC Times that it's the unpredictability and uniqueness in the way red squirrels behave that make him feel joy to photograph or just watch in general. His aim is to capture scenes of red squirrels interacting with human props. These objects include mini golf carts, tiny umbrellas, small barbecues, or a mini-sized putting green with golf clubs. Robert Shaw said that when you leave something in their area for long enough, they will go to check it out. If the red squirrels do anything that looks like something we humans do, Robert Shaw will take a burst of shots. But it is easier said than done. Robert Shaw has to get up before sunrise and wait patiently for hours. Many times he leaves empty-handed, but he says it's all part of the fun and the challenge.
A hidden treasure in your wallet? $2 bills, old and new, could be worth thousands. Here's NTD's Stephanie Sokal to explain why.
Old $2 bills, including some newer ones like those from 2003, may have substantial value, potentially reaching thousands of dollars. Heritage Auction reported a recent sale of a 2003 $2 bill with a low serial number at $2,400, later resold for $4,000. USCurrencyAuctions.com estimates that uncirculated $2 bills from almost every year up to 1917 could be worth at least $1,000, with red-sealed bills selling for $300 to $2,500 and those with brown or blue seals also worth high prices. The value of a $2 bill depends on factors like the year of printing and whether it has been in circulation. Uncirculated bills with red or brown seals, especially those before 1976, may be particularly valuable, potentially reaching $4,500. Despite being less common, $2 bills are still in circulation, totaling 1.2 billion notes. In 2022, around 108.3 million $2 bills were printed. Stephanie SoCal, NTD News.
That's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on NTD Tonight every weekday at 9 p.m. Again, happy birthday to the U.S. Marines and happy Veterans Day. I'm David Lamb, sitting in for David Zhang. We'll see you Monday.